episode 56 with Josiah Novak. Welcome back, everyone. I am your host, Chewning, and this is your weekly source for inspiring content from people who are putting a purpose to their passion and truly living a life ever forward. This is Ever Forward Radio. What is going on, Ever Forward Nation? Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me back here on the podcast airwaves. I actually want to jump right into this week's iTunes review of the week because this one just really blew me away. Kind of caught me in the feels. You know, it's always nice to be appreciated, to feel appreciated. But man, when you just hear people use such specificity in their words of the impact that this podcast is having on their lives, that the message these guests are bringing to you all, it's so fulfilling, so motivating, so inspiring. It's everything. So I want to give a special shout out and thank you to user F. Heron. They write, the title of this review is absolutely incredible. This is a podcast like no other. In his interviews, Chase asks deep and thoughtful questions which lead to fascinating conversations on every topic imaginable. Thanks to Everforward Radio, I've learned about several valuable topics during my otherwise boring daily commute, adventures, entrepreneurship, networking, etc. Find an episode that interests you to find out what it means to live a life ever forward. It might be the best choice you make all week. Mr. Heron, Mrs. Heron, whoever you are, thank you. That was such an amazing, heartfelt review. I greatly appreciate that. So again, it's one thing to just put out this content, to put out these messages and these interviews, because it's something that I just love to do so much. This is such a passion project of mine, but it solidifies it when that resonates with you, the listener, as well. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day to tap those 5 stars, to leave a review. And if you're listening and if that resonates with you in any way, shape, or form, please, I greatly appreciate these reviews. It's going to give you a chance to get shouted out on the air. We do these every week. My goal is every week. I'm human. Sometimes I miss one. But I want to make sure that I pay this back. I pay this forward. So thank you for taking the time out to leave me the love. I want to make sure that I do the same for you guys. We are connecting with a new internet friend of mine, my new podcast buddy, Mr. Josiah Novak. Josiah is not only a trainer, a coach, an entrepreneur himself, but he also has an incredible kick-ass podcast called The Fit Man Project. I was actually a guest on his airwaves about a month or two ago, I think, kind of like late 2017, and great interviewer, great interviewee. And if you guys like listening to my voice, wait until you hear the two of us talk together. Josiah, great radio voice, great podcast voice. So listening to this is at least going to be, I think, pretty easy for you all. So Josiah, like myself, is an entrepreneur. He's a small business owner. He's in this thing we call fitness. But also like me, he's in a relationship. He's married. But even more specifically like me, he's married to someone of another culture. His wife is from the Middle East, much like mine. His wife is Afghan. Mine is Persian. So one thing we talk about and we immediately connected with is just our love for their food. Their food, Persian food, Iranian food, Middle Eastern food. God, we could just live off this stuff for days. So we just love to eat. We got some amazing women, great family members in our lives. So this is going to be a little bit unique. So we talk about, of course, fitness, and we talk about goal setting and just some ways that, you know, we strive to improve our days and improve the days and lives of our clients. But man, when you're doing this with someone else, when you're doing this in a relationship with a family like Josiah, he has his wife and 2 kids, it makes things much more different. It makes them more special. It makes them unique in a sense that you just have to be aware of all this, because it's no longer just you taking care of you. It's you taking care of you, serving the needs of your customers, and taking care of your family. So for all of my people listening who are in a relationship, you're married, you have kids, or you're just curious as to maybe, how is my life going to change? Is it as scary as everybody says? I promise you, finding the right person, like Josiah talks about, can radically change your life. He went from not ever thinking he was going to be married or have a family. Here he is, same age as me. He's a 32-year-old guy, just kicking ass, being an amazing entrepreneur, changing people's lives, being a phenomenal husband, being a great dad, and just taking it day by day. So I promise you, it's not as scary as they all make it out to be, but just take note. Josiah dropped some incredible knowledge with us here, and he is just a great example of what it means to live a life by example, to serve others, to serve yourself at the same time. So without further ado, we're going to jump right in to this conversation with the homie, the neighbor, the podcast buddy, Mr. Josiah Novak. But yeah, man, I think it's so cool, first of all, how we connected and realized we're pretty much the same person. Up here, Northern Virginia, DC, married to a Middle Eastern woman. We're in this whole thing called fitness and podcasting, and somehow we've never even grabbed a beer or anything, man, or worked out. But we're going to fix that soon. But Josiah Novak, welcome to the podcast,
Thanks,
man.
Brother. Yeah, we have so much in common. It's scary. I almost feel like someone maybe split us at birth. We were Siamese twins or something.
Yeah, we're pretty much the same age. We both went to the same college. It's just like we've been living in parallel universes, didn't even realize it.
Yeah, the universe is really weird like that. Actually, Adam from Mind Pump and I had similar experience where like we started listing our background and it's like, hold on a second, this is almost weird. Like there's actually other me's out there. It's really weird.
It's like in Step Brothers, you start listing off all your favorite things. It's like, wait a second, did we just become best friends?
We start finishing each other's sentences and everything.
After this, we're actually going to head over to Josiah's garage and do kung fu.
Exactly, man. We're going to go viral.
Yeah, man. But if you're listening to this and Josiah sounds familiar, it's because not only does he have all kinds of eargasm voices going on in his podcast over on Fitman Project, but I was a guest over on his about a month or so ago, and we had to kind of return the favor and share his story over here on Everforward Radio. So, Josiah, introduce yourself, man. Say hey to the Everforward listeners. Who are you? What do you do? And what are we going to talk about?
Yeah, dude. So I appreciate you having me on. I have been involved in health and fitness for quite some time, actually. Geez, it's over a decade now, which is kind of crazy. But I own a company called The True Transformation, and it really is a company based around the idea that health and fitness is the best way to transform your life, right? Because a lot of people listening out there are looking for something to latch onto when it comes to just improving their overall life, their overall lifestyle. A lot of us have been through a lot of crap over the years, and with all the information out there, with all the gurus and the noise and just the constant bombardment of advertisements, it's hard to know where should you start, right? Where should you begin a journey of self-improvement and a journey to reach your full potential, man? So after going through a bunch of stuff, and we'll probably get into it, but a lot of things in my life, I decided, hey, I want to pay it forward, right? I want to spread some positive vibes, help people sift through all the information that's out there, really get control of their life, reach their full potential, find true happiness. And I truly believe that the first place you should start, and honestly, something you should always have as part of your life, is a solid health and fitness routine. And so with all the nonsense that's out there, as you know, in the fitness world, and you being involved in it pretty heavily, I said, hey, I want to make a platform for people to be able to get the right answers, because, man, I made so many mistakes over the years with my own routine. I did so many dumb things. I followed so many, jackasses out there that were telling me to do crazy stuff. And I said,
science.
Yeah, man, the eating 20 meals a day or whatever it was. But, it's not really necessarily new information, right? It's just, hey, maybe my story and our background will inspire people because they can relate, right? And then on top of that, now having a family, the game has completely changed, because now I have other little humans running around that I'm responsible for, that I pour my life into now, and that I want to set an example for them, but also set an example for the other dads and moms out there that are like, hey, that's great, dude. I love the fact that you're helping people, but I got kids, right? I have a career. Mm-hmm. How am I supposed to do all this? So that's what we're all about. And the podcast is a way of connecting with other amazing people like yourself who have other amazing stories to share that can help inspire people as well, man.
That's amazing background, amazing current offerings. And it seems like you're definitely like me. We have so many things that we try to offer and do, and content creation. But I think the overarching goal that I haven't really thought that much about, you definitely hit the nail on the head, man. And that's being an incredible example. And that's being, not to sound corny, but, being the change you want to see in the world. If you're trying to really make change or start a wave, it's much easier to just be what you're trying to do so that others can implement it into their own way, their own path. Because let's be honest, man, in the fitness industry, most people don't want to be told what to do. And so if they got one more person telling them how to live their life, what to do, it usually goes the opposite way. But I love being a leader by example, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as far as what we try to do over here is that, we just want to inspire people. We want to show people what's possible. We also want to be vulnerable because I think in the industry today, especially fitness, I mean, you could probably name any industry, but most of what's shown to the public is the highlight reels. It's your Sports Center top 10. It's the best of the best, right? And so we also want to show the struggle. We want to show, hey, this isn't always perfect. You're not always going to get it right. But that's the beauty of pretty much anything, dude. Like, I mean, anything in life is that the struggle and the failure is what allows you to have the success. Without the struggle and the failure, there is no success, right? I mean, I strongly believe that without pain and suffering, there is no happiness. So you have to have both. And we want to show you how you can utilize the tough stuff, which is the failures, the man, I really messed that up moments, and turn that into, wow, now I finally understand this and I get it. And now I know how to avoid those mistakes moving forward. So we don't just show the good stuff. We show the behind the scenes. We show the, hey, I really messed this up, but here's how you can learn from me and not make the same mistake. And I think that's something that I think the fitness industry is grasping onto a little bit more with a lot of some of these bigger influencers out there. But it's still a slow journey to get to the point where we are very transparent.
Absolutely, man. And hopefully, that day is coming where total transparency is there. And I think a lot of people, like you and like we're talking about the Mind Pump guys, they're doing a great job. You're doing a great job of presenting your authentic, true self. And that, in my opinion, is always going to resonate tenfold with your audience and anyone, whether, they believe wholeheartedly in what you're doing, it's just going to come across because people can smell bullshit from a mile away. It's much harder to bring someone back into your flock, so to speak, if they're skeptical versus just connecting with them from the get-go.
Absolutely.
But one thing you said in the beginning, man, I really want to let's kickstart there. And that is becoming successful in life. And I really agree that in order to be successful in any area of your life, if you can build the consistency, if you can build the diligence and the ritual of taking care of your mind and your body through fitness, nutrition, talk about that, man. How does building that ritual in yourself and with your clients, how does that resonate into being able to accomplish anything else we want in life?
Yeah. So first thing I would say is success is different for everybody, right? So we'll just use success as a general term to define, hey, just, what you want to achieve in different areas of your life. It could be financial. It could be relationship related. It could be as a father, you want to be a better dad. At the end of the day, the fitness part of things comes into play when people have a hard time wrapping their heads around what's possible, right? They go, well, I want to make $1 million, but man, I've never seen more than 25 grand a year. Right? They don't understand what it really takes and how they could ever achieve something as big as $1 million a year. Right. And so the fitness part is, in my opinion, the easiest win. Right. It's the easiest way to wrap your head around what's possible, because when people look at, fitness models on the cover of magazines and they go, wow, like that person must work out 5 times a day. That person must, sleep 10 hours a night and take 20 different supplements. And, they get this idea of what it really takes to be healthy and fit. But when they actually start going through the process of getting healthier, of getting in better shape, building muscle, losing body fat, and they start to see these wins, right? They start to get on the scale once in a while and go, wow, I'm actually dropping some weight, or wow, my pants feel a little more loose around the waistline, or, hey, I'm looking in the mirror and I notice some veins in my arms. They go, wow, I never really thought that I could do this, but now I notice that I can. I'm just applying simple principles, right? I'm just being consistent. I'm doing the things that matter. I'm tracking my calories. I'm getting to the gym a few times a week. I'm walking more. And they start to think, you know what? If I can get in better shape, I can probably start to make more money, right? Because I can apply these same principles, right? And now a good coach will tell you apply those same principles, which are consistency, right? Focusing on what actually gives you the best return instead of trying to do every little thing and getting just a small return for it. So, then in the fitness world, that could be taking supplements, right? Where maybe you spend $100 on a pill, but it really doesn't give you much more than 1%, better performance, right? Or you go, hey, I'm just going to track my food in MyFitnessPal, which is free, by the way. And next thing you know, you're dropping 2 to 3 pounds of fat, every couple of weeks. And so you start to realize that if you're just consistent with the big things that matter in any area of your life, so that could be family, that could be your spouse, that could be your career, you're going to start to see change. You're going to start to see improvement. But you have to have that belief that it's possible. And so if I tell you, hey, man, you've been making 25 grand, you can definitely make $1 million. You're probably going to call bullshit, right? You're going to say, dude, sorry, I don't even have my bachelor's. I only make 25 grand. I've never, I have no idea how to start a business. I just have this idea, but it's never going to work. Well, if you say, hey, that's, something I don't think I can do, but then you also haven't really ever done anything with your health and fitness, I would tell you start there, because that's going to be a much easier win, and it's going to show you what's possible for yourself. And then you can take that belief and you can start translating into other areas of your life, man. So that's for me, what I always preach when it comes to success is that on top of that self-belief, once you realize what's possible with health and fitness and you can get into better shape, your confidence, man, along with that belief can propel you to just new levels of success in all sorts of areas. So that's it, man.
Josiah, go back and I really want to hone in on this concept that is so simple, but I think people often oversimplify it because they don't realize the true potential and validity in it. And that's consistency, man. You're talking about whatever goal you have in your life, whatever success looks like for you, it all boils down to how specific can you get with your goal and how consistently can you work towards that? Talk about consistency, man. How invaluable is that for the goal setting process?
Yeah, I mean, consistency is, in my opinion, one of the most important things. But let's get really clear on something, too, with consistency. So you can be consistently bad, too, right?
Touche.
So I think people need to, and obviously in the world we live in where everybody's on their pedestal and everybody's, got their moment in the sun or whatever, their spotlight, everybody's preaching roughly the same stuff. But there are a lot of times just copying what they've read or seen from somebody else. And this whole consistency notion is one thing that I see a lot of. And it's just like, hey, just be consistent, right? Just be consistent and you're going to get there. We also have to understand that you have to be consistent with the right stuff. Because if I consistently rob a bank, I'm definitely going to get in jail, right? If I consistently go out and get trashed every night and I drive home, I'm consistently going to end up in jail, right? And so with health and fitness, if you're consistently eating more calories than you need, or if you're consistently doing the wrong type of workouts for your goals, you're not going to get to your end result. You're not going to get to where you want to be. So first things first is we have to make sure that our targets for consistency are where, are in line with what we want to achieve. And so for me, and this is something that I think is a simple exercise that a lot of people should sit down and do, but when it comes to whatever you want to achieve, and so I'll use the building a business as an example. If you're trying to become more prominent on social media, and this is something I'm doing right now, so this is a real life example. I haven't really taken Instagram very seriously, right? So it's kind of like someone who maybe hasn't been taking their workouts very seriously, and they go, well, how am I going to get results if all I go to the gym is, three times a week, right? Well, if you're looking at it in the short term, yeah, okay, 3 times a week isn't that much, right? But if you look at it in the long term and you say, if I went to the gym 3 days a week for 52 weeks a year, well, now you're looking at 156 workouts? That's a lot, right? And so if I'm looking at Instagram and I go, well, dude, if I post twice a day or 3 times a day, that might seem like a lot, but I see these other people and they're posting and they're getting all sorts of likes, but they've been doing this for 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, right? And so I go, well, all right, I'm just going to start with 2 posts a day minimum, and I'm going to do that for the next year. Well, guess what's going to happen? Since I'm doing the right things, I'm posting quality content, right? Which is obviously what we talked about with being consistent with the right things. Yep. If I'm going to the gym 3 times a week and I'm doing really solid workouts that are focused on my goal, that are progressing me in the gym, next thing you know, you are going to get amazing results. But once again, it's just like investing, man. And I relate everything back to business. But if you're investing money in the right things, if you're putting money in the right markets and you're investing money back into things that are eventually going to give you a return, early on, you're not going to see a big return. But it's compound interest, dude. It's compound interest. Yeah. So short term, we go, oh, man, like I'm doing the right things, dude, but I'm just not, this doesn't seem like a lot. But then you go, well, flash forward 3 years from now. Oh my gosh, man, you've put in some major, major groundwork and your results are going to be absolutely astounding.
That's probably the easiest analogy. And that's one of the ones that I use the most as well. You know, people, just this week, actually, we had a really unique guest on talking about, how to become your own chief financial officer and relating this concept that a lot of people overlook, your financial health, your financial wellness, and treating it the same way you would, a weight loss, a weight gain goal, a PR goal. You have to put in these small steps. You have to do the due diligence and the small work that compounds over time, because I promise you, time is going to fly by, and it's going to be a year later, and you've been going to the gym twice a week, or you've been adding 10 cents into your savings account every day. You know what? That doesn't seem like a lot, maybe when you're doing it, but hindsight, that's a lot of work, and you have to go into the beginning with the end in mind is one of the biggest concepts I always preach.
Oh, absolutely. It's funny. It's crazy you mentioned the 10 cents or whatever. I have this little, app on my phone that saves money for me, just for my kids. And they're so little, man. I mean, it's like, it's hard to think, wow, this is actually going to be significant. But when you actually look at the numbers and you go, well, if we did this for the next 20 years, and they're off to college and whatnot, or wherever they decide to go, that's a ton of money. Yeah. Like it's a lot, And so I go, wow, and it's true. Financial health is very, very similar to our physical health. And it just comes down to, once again, doing the right habits, doing the right routine as consistently as you possibly can, even if it's a little bit more on the tortoise versus the hare side, right? So you're a little bit erring on the side of the tortoise, where you're a little slower. But dude, that consistency is always going to win, assuming you're doing the right stuff, of course.
And that's okay. That's okay. So many people think, I've definitely been there. You think in order to accomplish this specific goal, you have to go all in. You have to have all the time in the world. You have to have all the resources in the world, but it's simply not true. And the more we can kind of stop telling ourselves that lie and just get really specific with the specific action we can take. I mean, not to beat a dead horse, but just it compounds, man. It adds up. I promise you. Yep. Yeah. And, Josiah, you hit a specific word I want to circle back on. I think it's going to be really unique to a lot of people listening to this. And that's the K word, brother. That's the kids. Staying consistent when you're, single and looking to mingle is one thing. You got all the time in the world. The, seemingly only person you have to take care of is yourself. But once you start getting into significant relationships, a spouse and kids, man, how do we stay consistent with these other things, these other responsibilities in our life? Because you're a great example, man. You're doing it.
Yeah. So with kids, I mean, I was always the guy, and I came from a really rough background with my parents. And so I was always the guy who said, I'm never going to have kids, right? Because I didn't want that responsibility. I saw what went down with my parents and the abuse and the nature of that environment, and how it really just scarred both me and my siblings for quite some time. And I thought, you know what? Kids just are not for me, man. Like, I just don't want that burden. But what actually changed it for me was I met someone who I felt like I could build with, right? So my wife, when I met her, I thought, this person is someone I want to have a family with, right? Because it's such an amazing relationship, such a healthy environment. And so we decided to have a kid. Now, we have two little boys, both under the age of 3.5. So our hands are full, to say the least. One thing anybody out there listening with kids, right, who's got the career, who's got the family, and goes, I want to improve my life, or I'm not in the greatest shape, or I want a better career, I want to make more money, whatever it is. You have to wrap your head around this concept of balance. Okay. Now before you freak out on me, I don't believe in balance at all. Okay. I think balance is absolute total bullshit. And what I mean by that is balance suggests that you can do everything at once, right? You can do it all, and you can be great at it all the time. And it's just not true. right? Especially when you have kids, because anyone who's got kids knows for a fact that you have to be very selfless when it comes to taking care of your children. Otherwise, they're going to have problems. They're going to have issues. They're not going to be able to get everything done. They're going to have all sorts of things that pop up that result from you not paying attention, right? And so you have to wrap your head around this concept that balance is bullshit. So what I mean by that is, it doesn't mean you can't accomplish all these other things. It's just you have to eliminate a lot of the nonsense, right? You have to sacrifice some things that are not giving you anything in return. All right. And for me, that meant, okay, maybe I don't stay up and watch, a meaningless sporting event until 1 a.m, right? Maybe I don't watch the reruns of Game of Thrones. I love Game of Thrones, right? But maybe I don't watch season 1 a second time.
Wait,
right?
You've only seen it twice?
I have to start giving a...
I go back and rewatch every season, every year.
Yeah,
single versus kids, people. Single versus kids right here. Prime example.
Yes, this is before and
kids
after.
Versus kids.
Right. Well, as far as you know, right? So, and here's the thing. So there will be many people out there that will tell you, you can get it all done, right? You can do it all, man. You can, schedule your calendar to where you have, all your movie time, you have all your workout time, you have all your kid time, career time. Dude, it's bullshit. It's total bullshit. Why? Because doing anything really well, if you want to be a really good parent, if you want to be in great shape, if you want to have a great business, takes a lot of time, dude. And it takes a lot of work. And that's okay. Because the beauty of it, man, and this is something I always tell people, is the beauty of doing the work and actually getting it done and not being balanced is that you achieve success. It's just like the quote, you can be a jack of all trades or you can be a master of none, right? And so at the end of the day, if I go, hey, I want to be a great dad, well, that doesn't mean I can do it all. It doesn't mean I can be a great Game of Thrones, psycho fan, or I can drink Moscow Mules every night like I would love to do. It means I have to dedicate a large amount of my time, an unbalanced amount of my time, to my kids. But the beauty of it too, like I said, is that I get an amazing return on that investment. And by eliminating a lot of the bullshit, like eliminating, calls that I really shouldn't be on, delegating my tasks, hiring for small projects so I don't spend countless hours on something that I'm really not that great at. And then also understanding that, and this going back to the workout stuff, I'm being consistent with my workout side of things, but I'm being consistent with the right things. And so if that only means 3 to 4 workouts a week, those 3 to 4 workouts are focused, right? They're really good. They're a strong 40, 60 minutes. No bullshit, no playing on my phone. I'm in the gym or I'm at home and I'm crushing a workout and I'm getting it done. And then with my nutrition, it's just as simple as I'm just tracking what I eat, right? But I'm not spending, I'm not wasting time doing all these other things that are taking away from what's most important to me right now. Also, you have to understand that with parenting, you go through phases, right? So we just went through a really tough phase where they're toddlers, they have zero independence, right? But now my oldest, who's going to be 4 this year, he's starting to do a lot of things on his own. He's starting to gain some independence. And then my 1.5-year-old, well, he's actually almost 2, he's starting to do things on his own too. Because guess what? He's following his older brother's lead. And so now all of a sudden we're met with, oh, I actually have an extra 20 minutes now. Okay. So now that thing starts to shift, that time starts to shift, and you can start applying it to other areas that are important, but you're never going to be fully balanced, man. And so you can't get frustrated with, oh, dude, I'm not in the gym 7 days a week. How do I get it all done? How do I date my wife, 24/7? I mean, dude, you have to periodize, right? So we always relate it back to fitness, but you have to have periods of time where you're really focused on one thing, periods of time where you're really focused on something else, but stop trying to do it all at once, man.
I hope you all are enjoying this conversation as much as I am with Josiah. He is just an incredible example of a father, a husband, and a community leader in this fitness industry. But if you're like Josiah and myself, it's not just us. It's not just you. You have a family, you have a spouse, you have a significant other, you have children. and you spend all of this time taking care of your mind, your body, and ensuring that your family is set up for success day to day. But what if, God forbid, you're not there to provide? Would they have that same quality of life? Would they be able to continue on in the legacy that you have been working so hard to leave for them? This is where we're very proud to share our partnership with Health IQ. Health IQ is an incredible life insurance company that not only can create a new policy for you, but take your current one and find areas where maybe you're not getting the most value. They specialize in finding you the most valuable policy for you and your loved ones. By simply heading to healthiq.com/EFR and taking their short Health IQ quiz, you will see exactly where you stand. Maybe you're a runner, a vegetarian, a weightlifter. You own a physical activity tracker. All of these things are proof that you are putting in the hard work. And when you get down to it, all of these things make you a reduced statistic. And that equates to dollars for your life insurance. So I've done it myself. I'm currently sitting at about a 194 out of 200 on the Health IQ quiz, which tells me I must be doing something right? And you can do the same thing. No cost, no obligation. Simply take this short quiz, see exactly how your hard work is paying off or how it should be paying off, and allow Health IQ to go to work for you. Again, that's healthiq.com/EFR. Now let's go ahead and jump right back into the conversation with Josiah Novak. Something that I try to remind myself of a lot and definitely share with pretty much everyone I talk to is also really recognizing which season of life you're in right now. And I think people fail. They don't recognize that. And we get stuck in the self-comparison mode of, well, man, I remember when I was in college, I remember just like a year ago, I used to work out 5, 6, 7 times a week. I used to eat so well. I used to be in the best shape of my life. But you know what? You're not where you were a year ago. You're not where you were in college. You are adulting. You have these other duties and responsibilities. And that's just the way it goes. Unless you live in this amazing universe that I don't know about, where you have all the time in the world, all of your duties get done, your house is clean, your bills are paid, your significant other is taken care of. I haven't met anybody who has found that universe yet. Maybe in the extras in Interstellar, I missed some black hole or something. But it's so true, man. And
great movie.
To crudely put a cap on this, kind of the same message, to quote one of my favorite characters on Parks and Recreation, Mr. Ron Swanson, he says, "You don't whole ass 2 things, whole ass 1 thing." And it feeds into the lie of multitasking. And I'll be the first to admit, man, I used to think I was so good at multitasking and doing, I can check email and look at my phone and write things down all the same time. But it's setting a specific intent. Setting a specific intent allows you to take specific action. And then once you can recognize, hey, this is where I am in my life, these are the things that I need to devote my most amount of time to, you're going to quickly realize that what Josiah is talking about is absolutely true. There is no such thing as balance, because if you think there's balance in your life, then that's another lie you're telling yourself, because that means you think that everything in your life is equally as important. And I promise you it's not. And you're going to realize that single, married, in a significant relationship, especially with kids, it's just having a sense of awareness and taking a step back and really putting yourself in check, right, man?
Yeah, you got to measure this stuff, right? Anything that's in your life that's important to you that you want to see blossom or improve, or if you're single, because I know you have an audience probably similar to yourself and similar to me, so you probably have a mixture of both people with kids and people who are married or just haven't had kids yet. Here's the thing: you have to take, if you're into health and fitness, you have to take the principles that say, hey, measure, manage, track, and you got to apply that to the areas in your life that you want to see improve. And so for me, a simple exercise that I do almost daily now, because I'm actually achieving these goals day by day, is I've written down in a note in my phone all the goals that I have for the year. And that's not just with business. It's not just with fitness. It's with my relationship. It's with my kids. It's with my self-development, my personal development, my finances, everything. And these are tasks that I know. So going back to consistency, we're just going to keep fucking hammering that. I have these tasks that I know if done consistently will result in improvement. All right. And an example would be, I have these days every month that I do with my kids. You can just replace kids with dog or wife or whatever.
Don't replace your kids with dog, people.
It's called, yeah, don't do that literally, but we're going to get in all sorts of trouble. We're recommending people replace their kids with dogs, corgis specifically. So I have these day dates with my kids, right? So I take them out of school, or we hang out for the day. They don't go to preschool for the day, and we just go do something fun. Right? It doesn't matter what it is. It's just time spent with them, distraction free, put my phone away, leave my phone in my car, whatever, and just go to the park or go to the trampoline place, and we just hang out, right? Get some ice cream, whatever. So I know that those days do wonders for my relationship with my kids, right? Like for weeks after that, they're talking about that day. Like, dude, that was the best day ever. Like, I can't wait to do it again, right? So I know if I do 12 of those with each of my kids this year, that's going to be massive, dude. That's going to be a massive swing in the right direction of being a good dad. Doesn't mean I'm be a perfect dad. Doesn't mean I'm going to not flip out when they shit on the carpet. You know what I mean? Or wait, are we talking about dogs or kids? I get confused sometimes. But yeah, so if we measure that stuff, then it's going to get managed appropriately, right? So if I look at my phone and I go, wow, man, it's April and I've only done one daddy day with my kids, dude, not cool, right? Like, it's time to get on the horse and make up for that. And it's time to, let's get consistent. That's the right stuff, you know? And so that's it, man. That's what I do for everything. And it pays
I say it all the time.
Dividends.
You can't effectively manage what you don't measure. And you insert, like you said, any specific task here in any goal. And another thing that I'll say, kind of relating this back to, you set your goal, you define what success means for you, your daily practice, your consistency, whatever it is, especially once you get into the nutrition side and the fitness side. How many of us try to just drastically or over make up for it? Yesterday I didn't log my food, or I went over, so today I'm going to starve myself. Or I haven't worked out in 3 months, so tomorrow I'm going to go to the gym and I'm just going to kill myself doing the most brutal workout possible. In your health and your fitness and your nutrition, it's just recognize that, okay, that slipped up, that happened. Don't try to kill yourself. Don't try to starve yourself. Don't try to force feed yourself the next day or the next week. It's just like you said, just get back up on the horse and develop those consistent habits. And because if you do starve yourself, if you do try to kill yourself in the gym, you run the risk of getting injured. You develop most likely inappropriate relationship with food. And that's just negative intent. That's negative consistency, like Josiah was talking about in the beginning. So just get clear on your goal and get clear on the action, on the practice you need to take. And when you're on it, you're on it. And when you're off, just accept that it's off. And the next day, just get right back up on it.
Yeah, I have a perfect analogy for this, man, because this is, I think, something we all deal with. But if you can imagine yourself, if you're off track, you can imagine yourself leaving your house, right? Leaving your safe place, which is your home, where you live, where you reside, sleep, all that good stuff. You're walking in a line, west, east, doesn't matter, north, south, and you're just leaving where you live and you're just walking, right? That's like being off track. You're just leaving where you need to be and you're just going and you're going and going. Well, eventually you're going to have to go home, right? You're going to have to turn around and you're going to have to get back to where you need to be. Now, once you decide that, okay, I'm really far off from where I need to be, and this is absurd, man. I'm hundreds of miles from home. Like, this is crazy, right? You got a choice. You can, assuming there's no public transportation, of course, you can turn around and start sprinting back, right? Well, guess what? Eventually, it's going to give out, right? Your body's going to shut down and you're going to be out of breath and you're going to say, wow, I got to take a break. I got to sleep this through or whatever, right? Or you could just turn around and start walking at a really good pace. And once again, consistency, right? If we're consistently going at a good pace back to where we need to be, we're going to get there much faster if we're sprinting, stopping and sleeping and feeling run down and getting injured or just getting burnt out, right? Because it's like, man, this is just taking forever. I've been sprinting for the past 30 minutes and it feels like I've gotten nowhere. Well, that's the same thing with your health and fitness plan or anything. If you try to do something extreme, considering you've been off track for a good amount of time, you're going to get burned out. You're going to get hurt. You're going to feel like this just isn't for me because I don't see the progress I thought I was going to see, in relation to the effort I've been putting out. So just be consistent, and I think we've said consistent about 1,000 times. Might be a world record now. We're consistently saying
consistency.
At the end of the day, yeah, this podcast, I think we're going to name it consistency. But at at the end of the day, if we set that pace that we can maintain, the results will be tremendous.
To kind of ask a really specific question, man, what is, just because you're such a great example of being a dad, being a husband, being an entrepreneur, being a content creator, what is the pace that you set for yourself? If you could give one ritual or one daily practice to someone maybe in the same shoes as you, or they want to be in the same shoes as you, what's maybe one thing that you do on a daily basis that really helps you set your pace?
Yeah, I think for me, it's always coming down to planning, right? I'm a big action taker. I don't have any problem with taking action. So for some people listening, they might not be able to relate to that. They might have a problem with action taking and actually getting off the couch or getting, on whatever platform they need to be on and actually creating something. For me, it's always, yeah, exactly. So I have a real hard time actually sitting down and planning, right? So I'm like the action guy, like, hey, you tell me this, we're going to, I go out and do it, right? And then oftentimes I look back and say, man, I probably should have planned a little bit more because I just went out and did things really imperfectly, almost in a bad way. And so what I've had to do over the years is ensure that I'm spending a solid amount of time planning, but also ensuring that I satisfy that need to create every day. Because I love creating. I love writing. And that's sometimes expressed through an Instagram post. That's sometimes expressed through a podcast plan that I have, and then I go out and execute. And sometimes that's through a YouTube video, right? It just depends. At the end of the day, what's most important, though, for me as a person is ensuring that I have a clear plan so that when I go out and execute, that fiery action taking that I have is put into the right modules, right? It's put into the right actions so that on the back end, the product itself and the creation that I put out there is valuable, right? It's something that people are going to use and actually get something out of. But for other people who have a hard time taking action, I would just start with one thing, right? Like whatever it is, if it's your health, if it's your business, if it's your relationships, stop trying to do 10 different habits. If you're someone who's like, hey, I want to be big on social media, don't follow my example of doing everything. Go, hey, I'm going to be really good on Instagram. And the reason for that is because the lessons you'll learn from whatever platform you decide, whether it's YouTube, podcasting, whatever, Twitter, those lessons you'll be able to translate into other platforms. You master one of them. For me, it was Facebook. I mastered Facebook a while back. Still learning to this day because they're changing things. But Facebook was my stomping grounds, right? That was where I really cut my teeth and said, you know what, this is a platform I understand. And so now that I'm focused heavily on Instagram and YouTube, the lessons I've learned from Facebook, even though the platforms are different, the lessons and consistency and value are there. And so now it's just saying, okay, what works really well, and then applying those same principles to these platforms.
Fail to plan, plan to fail. Isn't that what they say?
I think we're crushing it with that aspect, dude. I think we're nailing this podcast. Consistency and planning and measuring and managing and all that stuff. This is like self-development and self-help 101.
Exactly. And so many of these things come up, I'm sure if you're listening to this, you'll be like, oh God, that's so cliche, or I've heard that a million times, but you know what? Damn it. It's true. And
hey, but why are things cliche, bro? I mean, let's nail that real quick. Why are,
because it's so damn true. I love when
people say that. Yeah, like, oh dude, I don't want to be cliche. Hey, motherfucker. Sorry. I mean, I can curse, but it's like, dude, like there's a reason for that, right? Like, I mean, hey, there's a reason the sun comes up every day, right? I mean, because it fucking works, dude. Mm-hmm. Like that's why. If someone's, it's funny to me when people talk about anything that is kind of repeated over and over again, like, oh, that's so cliche to say, but dude, it's because it actually works. Mm-hmm. The problem is we're always looking for another way when in fact the way was staring us right in the face, right? And so whenever someone says that's cliche, I'm like, stop. That's just the right answer. You know what I mean? That's just it. That's what you have to do right there. Don't worry about being cliche, bro. That's just the truth.
Yeah, some things you don't need to develop an entirely new process for, because it's been done the same way for so long for so many people because it works. And I'm not saying that, you have to abide by the same rules every other person lives their life by, but certain things to be successful, to set a goal, to establish success for yourself, to develop consistency in your life, a fitness plan, a nutrition plan. There are so many just truths, and they are true because they work across the board. So Just stop trying to skin the cat 18,000 different ways,
Yeah. I mean, there's only a couple ways, I think. Once again, we don't harm animals here. We've talked about dogs and kids, and now we're getting to cats.
We love kids. We love animals. I got 2 sitting right beside me right now, 2 dogs. But and Josiah, you're another great example, man, of balancing this relationship aspect. And I'm a married guy myself. I've been with my wife May we've been married for about 1.5 years now, but together for years. And that in and of itself, I'm sure a lot of my audience, your audience as well, you're dating someone, you're in a significant relationship, you're engaged, you're married. Talk a little bit about balancing that, because you said something earlier about trying to date your wife every day. And I think that is a really important item. That's something that I try to implement, try being the key word. You can set a goal. You're not always going to reach it, but the important thing is get back up on the horse. But what's it like dating your wife every day? What's it like balancing a significant relationship like that on top of everything else you try to crush in the day?
Yeah. So, oh man, once again, you go through seasons, right, with your relationship. And what I mean by that is, anyone who's listening out there who wants to be married or wants to have a happy marriage, I mean, you got to understand it's just like anything else. And this is not to sound cliche, but it just takes work. I mean, truth be told, it takes measuring, it takes communication. I think the big thing for me that I've learned over the past year is that communication is probably the number one factor, right? Because if you both agree, hey, we love each other, we're in this for the long haul, we enjoy each other's company, what ends up happening is that if you don't communicate, you start to harbor resentment, right? You start to think, and this especially is true when you have kids, because the amount of work and effort that goes into raising kids is significant, right? It takes a lot out of you. You sacrifice sleep, you sacrifice personal time, you sacrifice the selfish things you used to do in order to make sure your kids are okay. On top of that, it's a financial burden, right? I mean, you have to put a lot back into the family, way more than you did before. So if you don't communicate, if you're not on the same page about expectations, meaning you set these internal expectations like, oh, she should do this and I should do this and blah, 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 and you don't communicate those things, you don't actually put them on the table, and that person doesn't meet those expectations, oh man, you're in for a world of shit, right? Because you've internalized these desires, you haven't communicated them externally, and so now that person's not living up to those things. And you start to go, wow, this person just isn't cutting it, right? And then you start to judge and you start to come down on them. And so I speak from experience. We went through this. When you have kids, it's a new venture and you go, wow, this is not as easy as I thought. The daddy books and the mommy books, they don't tell you about all this stuff, right? And so for us, a game changer was a book called The 5 Love Languages.
I knew you were going to say that, now, man. I 1,000 times, yes, 1,000 times this book.
It's now we didn't sit there and study it like 2 scholars dissecting fossils or something. It was like, this shit just made sense, right? It was just like a surface level, like, wow, okay, this is what you respond to really well. This is what I respond to really well. Let me just start doing more of that, right? As simple as that. And dude, honestly, there will never be a time where your relationship is perfect, because we're human beings, man. Like, we go through different mood swings. We think different things. We can't read each other's minds, right? I mean, this isn't that movie with Mel Gibson or whatever where he can read women's minds.
What women want.
Yeah, what women want. Where, and that would be scary, I bet.
I don't want that superpower.
I want it for about 5 minutes, and then I think I'm good. But yeah, so we just both of us, have our good and our bad, and we have to accept that, right? You have to go, this person is a human being just like me. They don't know exactly what I'm thinking. I don't know exactly what they're thinking. So we got to communicate as much as we can, and we got to speak their love language as much as we can. Now, does that mean I'm perfect? Hell no. I mean, like I alluded to earlier in the podcast, a lot of the highlight reels are out there for these, couple goals and like relationship goals, hashtags, whatever out there. But for us, it's just, hey, there's going to be struggles. You have to understand, though, that marriage at the end of the day really is a team, right? It's a partnership. We're both on the same page. If I can paint a picture for you, it's like most marriages that end up failing are 2 people facing each other, butting heads, right? Like fighting, and it's like a boxing match, right? Like, oh no, you did this, so now I'm going to do this, and you didn't do this, so I'm not going to do this, and it's like this back and forth. If you can take those 2 people and put them side to side and face the same direction, right? And understand that you guys are both trying to reach the same thing, right? You're both trying to accomplish the same thing. Nobody's job or nobody's responsibilities in the relationship are better than the other person's. Like nobody's less significant than the other person. So, for me, maybe I think, and this is something that I struggled with early on, is that, okay, I'm the breadwinner, right? I'm the one bringing home the money every month. You should be doing this, right? You should be taking care of the kids.
Old school.
Right. Old school. When in fact, it was like, hey, your role or your job or whatever you do is just as important as mine. We're equal. There is no better than or less than or anything like that. And so I'll say it again. Marriage takes work. It's an amazing thing, though. It really is something that is worth the effort. And when you have kids, man, it's incredible when things come together, when all the work pays off. But it's not something you can just work on for a couple of weeks and then go, okay, it's all good. It's a daily effort. So date your wife. I tell people all the time, one thing that my wife and I try to do, and we need to do more of it, but we do day dates, man. We drop our kids off at preschool. We both are lucky that we get days off kind of whenever we need them. Now she has days off during the week. So I'm a business owner, so I can say, okay, I'm clearing my calendar that day. We have her parents, which live close by, Middle Eastern family, amazing. We're tight knit. So they pick up the kids from preschool and we spend, 8 in the morning to 9 or 10 at night, just us. Right. And so that's something that's changed the game. That's something that I would encourage anyone who can do it or a version of that, do that, because man, that just, it does so much to fuel the relationship, but that's like our secret sauce.
I feel you. And mine's the same way. My wife, she's a nurse and her days off are Mondays usually. And, now being in the position that I am to create and control my own schedule, man, that's been such a great thing for us as well. Like, hey, you've got Monday off. I've got Monday off. Let's, if anything, we'll just go run errands together. And that's more time together that we didn't used to have. And that just, it's just incredible, man. It's just any way that you can carve out that time to make yourself in that relationship a priority. It's the same thing like we were talking about in the beginning, just investing small amounts in whatever goal you have, eating right, working out more, being more active, getting more sleep, improving your relationship. Every little thing you add to that account adds up over time. So I echo that 1,000,000,000%. I echo 1,000,000,000%. The 5 Love Languages. That was a book that really, really showed me how I was not showing up as best as I could for my significant other. And it really, it does help kind of put your ego in check a little bit, because you learn, okay, actually, this is how I'm being received by my significant other. This is how I want them to receive me. And man, it puts you all on the same level playing field. It brought so much clarity to my relationship. And I can't recommend that enough. If you're single, get that book, because it's going to make you a better person going into a relationship. If you're in a relationship, I don't care if it's been a year or 20, get that book, revisit it often.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, dude, I realized I was just doing all the things that I actually needed for myself. Right. So like I was speaking my language to her, meaning, I enjoy, I respond really well to these things. And I was expecting her to respond really well to those things.
Right? Because we just think, oh, well, this is what I want. And if they love me and if they know me, then they should just know this. Well, sometimes they don't know that shit. And it's up to us to communicate that. So I'm going to link that book down in the show notes below. So if you're listening, like I said, if you're single, if you're in a relationship, I cannot recommend that book enough. I love it. Yeah. And Josiah, one other thing, man, we have another commonality, and that's our wives, our Middle Eastern wives, man. How freaking cool are these people? Is this culture? It's just unreal. I always joke that I don't know how I lived my entire life without eating Persian food before I met my wife and her family.
Oh man. Well, yeah. So my wife is Afghan. So Afghan food is
very similar.
Number one. Yeah. It's extremely similar, but it went from being unknown to me, to being my favorite food. Like literally overnight. I mean, I literally cannot get sick of it. Oh yeah. Kebab. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, dude, come on. I mean,
especially up here, man, there's so many Middle Eastern people for one, but then so many different restaurants and stuff like that. And now it's like, I get pissed when we don't go to her family's house on Sundays for dinner. I'm like, wait, what do you mean I don't get my fesenjoon? What do you mean I don't get my kebab? Like, what do you mean I don't get all these things?
Yeah, I know. It's an addiction, and I never get sick of it. I mean, I literally, if I had to eat Italian food every day, I'd probably get sick of it. If I had to eat, whatever, you name it, Chinese food, I'd probably get sick of it. But I've eaten so much Afghan food, and I've yet to even have a day or moment where I go, oh, I'm not feeling that. Like I'm always feeling it, man.
One quick little tangent, man, was going into this relationship with someone of a different culture, different ethnicity. Were you hesitant at all going into that relationship, or what maybe change through your perception of how to be in a relationship with someone of a completely different culture? Because I know mine shifted a little bit.
Yeah, so it's funny. I as a young man, I thought, well, I'm never going to get married, right? I'm always just going to have a single life, or I'm just going to be a bachelor or whatever. And then when I met her, the culture thing really almost excited me. It's kind of weird. Like I thought, wow, this is actually something cool versus like the typical, stay in your culture, stay in your religion type of thing. This actually got me a little bit more excited to jump into marriage, because I thought, well, this will be something that might actually serve me really well. Meaning I need this to expand my horizons. I need this to become a better person. Because the world is huge, man. I mean, dude, we're very insignificant if you really look at it from a world perspective, from a universe perspective. So it's like we have these boxes that we live in, and it's a comfort zone is what it is. But when you step out of that, you realize, man, the world is amazing. And these other cultures or other people are incredible. And they have so much to teach me, right? And so I won't say it's been easy as far as like her side of the family, right? Because luckily her parents are amazing. They love me. But her extended family, it hasn't been like open arms initially. Now they love me. Now that they've seen, okay, this guy's legit. He's not going anywhere. He's not just trying to infiltrate.
They finally accepted that you're not a doctor or a lawyer.
Yeah. I can say what is he doing again? He's got tattoos everywhere. Was he in prison? Like,
when I described my job to my extended family and even my in-laws in the beginning, they're like, "Wait, I don't get it." It's like you don't go to an office, like you're not a doctor. Like, I don't get it. It's
wait, huh? Yeah. You're not a heart surgeon. That's so weird. Yeah, dude. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm just blessed that her parents are just incredible human beings. Like, they are truthfully the most unselfish people I've ever met in my life, on top of being probably the hardest working people I've ever met. Yeah. And so we're blessed to have close family that accepts the differences that we have in our culture, right? Because we come from completely different backgrounds. I mean, her story is incredible. My story is incredible, but they're completely different. And so on top of that, we have, she has a huge extended family in this area. And so if you know about the Middle Eastern culture, they're very close. And so if someone comes in who's not a part of their religion or culture, it's definitely an event. But what I will say is that, as much as I'll keep harping on it, but the hard work, right? It always ends up with, obviously if you have good intentions, it ends up working out really well. And it has. I mean, it's been rewarding. And it hasn't been easy, but nothing good ever is. So it's been fun, but it's cool, man. I never thought that I would say my kids are half Afghan, right? Because I grew up in a military household. My dad went to Afghanistan, did a lot of things over there. And it's just, as a kid, you never think, wow, like I'm going to marry someone from there. You know what I mean?
That's so wild. Yeah.
And so, but now my boys have this just mix of cultures. And it's so cool because they're going to have endless opportunities now because they're going to speak multiple languages. They're going to have familiarity with different cultures. They're going to be comfortable with different types of people. And that, man, is the biggest thing. Like, that to me is just so exciting because they're not going to have limits or boundaries on who they can talk to or who they can love or all that stuff. I mean, it's just incredible.
Yeah. One quick thing to kind of sum up that point is, a pro tip I'll tell anyone who is maybe dating someone of another culture, but in my experience, of Middle Eastern descent. Don't expect to meet the family anytime soon. They're not going to bring you. They're not going to bring you home until.
That is so true.
Yeah, you can echo that, right? Like they're like, no. I have to make sure you're the girl, the guy before I even introduce you to my family dog. They are so protective of I have to respect that. I think it's such a big honor, and I think it's very sacred. Like you were talking about, their culture, their family, their religion is all very important to them, and I think it's such a great way to honor that, to have this family integrity. But I didn't meet, except for May's brother, I didn't meet anyone in her family until probably at least a year. And that was like, I think they saw a picture of me like 6 months into it. And even then she was like, yeah, my dad liked you in the picture, so I can keep dating you. I was like, damn.
Thank God for Instagram filters, right?
Seriously, right.
No, yeah, it's so true. I didn't meet her cousins, or I met her parents relatively early, not early, but I think like 3 or 4 months into it. But her parents are super open-minded, right? So like they were cool. Funny story. Well, I won't get into the story now, but her mom kind of encouraged her to go on a date with me for the first time, which is interesting. But her extended family, I didn't meet until actually our wedding, dude. Like I didn't meet them until we were getting married. Like, dude, you don't have a choice now.
I believe it. Yeah. Oh, and another thing too, for the longest time, you're not going to be introduced as, hey, this is my girlfriend or boyfriend. You're always going to be, this is my friend.
Yeah. This is a guy.
Yeah. I went from being May's friend to husband, like the same day for a lot of her family.
Yeah. Oh, dude. So hilarious story real quick. Her sister got married close to when she and I got married. So her sister had a wedding party, and I at the time her family didn't know anything about me, right? So I actually I wanted to go to this party because my wife was like, I want you to experience this, and like this will be cool for you to see. And so I actually had to go as someone else's
No
date
way.
to the party. Yeah. I swear.
That's wild. But I believe
so I was with one of my wife's friends who was white, American. And I had to pretend like I was with her.
Oh man, that's a new one on me. I haven't had anyone go to that extent that I know, but that's hilarious.
Yeah, dude. But then, of course, at the wedding, they were like, "Okay, this is the same guy.
He's with that white girl, but he keeps staring at our daughter. What's going on?"
Yeah, this guy's a player. Yeah, no, so yeah, that's the Middle Eastern experience. But it was cool. I mean, I had, funny thing is, I guess my personality just jived really well with it, because I was like, oh, this is fun, man. Like I didn't take any offense to it. I wasn't like insecure. Yeah. I was like, oh, that's cool, man. Like I totally vibe.
It takes a strong man to date a Middle Eastern woman. I will tell you that. And it takes a strong man, I'll say, because you're going to be with a extremely strong woman, and you have to drop that ego quick. You have to open the floodgates of communication and just know what you're getting into. They're just such an incredibly strong person. And my wife's mom is one of my most favorite people in the world. My mother-in-law, you just walk into the room and you don't even need to see her, and you're just like, damn, the air just got powerful. You're like, holy shit.
Same here, man. Same here. The mother-in-law is the queen. Man. She's the boss.
Josiah, man, it's been awesome connecting with you again, brother. I think this has been a really great conversation. Hopefully providing some unique value to some of my unique audience members. People struggling to find ways to even develop consistency in any goal that they have, nutrition, fitness, saving money, being in a relationship, because you are in a relationship, we are in a relationship, we offer really unique insight into this world. So I really hope anyone listening picked up on that. And, like you said, just find a way to invest in yourself in one small way, in one small goal every day, because it does add up, and you will look back, 6 months to a year from now and be thankful for that small, seemingly tiny step you took, because you're going to be miles ahead of yourself down the road, man. So, kind of in closing, Josiah, in establishing consistency and setting goals and balancing your relationships, man, how does all of this content, how does what you do help others live a life ever forward?
Yeah, dude, life is short, man. That's the first thing I'll say, and not to sound sobering or anything like that, but life is very short. And so we have a very small amount of time to make a huge impact on other people. And I want to encourage everyone out there that anyone listening to this can make an impact. It doesn't have to be with health and fitness, doesn't have to be with relationships, it doesn't have to be with fatherhood or motherhood or anything like that. it's the things that you're passionate about. It's the things that you know are important. Maybe you've, acquired a skill that can help other people. Maybe you have a passion for doing something that just takes a little bit of courage to do. Our mission is to give you the confidence and the inspiration to do that. Taking care of your health, taking care of your fitness is a piece of that, right? It's the fuel that's going to drive you to achieve what you want to achieve in life. It's going to give you the confidence. It's going to give you the ability to avoid any kind of health bump in the road, any kind of issue that might spring up that would derail your efforts. It's also going to inspire the people who look up to you, right? The people who love you as a person and say, hey, I want to be like that person. And wow, they take care of their health, they take care of their fitness, and they're doing great things in the world. So if you're listening, you have the ability to make an impact. It's up to you to go out and do it. And if you need a place to start to build some confidence, to build some momentum, to understand that you are capable of these things, health and fitness is a great place to start. It's an easy win. It's low-hanging fruit. It doesn't take anything. You can do it for free in the comfort of your own home. So go after that. Take care of that aspect, and that's going to lead to a lot more success in other areas of your life, man. But like I said, life is short, so take full advantage of the opportunities that you have. Don't think that you can't make an impact, because you absolutely can. Even if you just help one person, man, that one person that you help might help millions. So don't take that stuff for granted.
That ripple effect.
Absolutely,
that
dude.
Ripple effect.
That butterfly effect, man.
Yeah, man.
Shout out to Ashton Kutcher.
The one mildly decent thing he did.
Yes, love that guy. Chi-Town.
Josiah, where can my audience connect with you the most? Where are you hanging out online? What's the best way to kind of find your content and what you're doing and how you're changing the world?
Yeah, these days, anywhere online, if you go at Josiah Fitness, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you'll be able to find me. YouTube is youtube.com/True Transform. But Josiah Fitness, connect with me there. You'll find my other platforms, no problem. And I'd love to connect. So, I'm all about answering your DMs, answering your comments. I will make a commitment to get back to you, whether it's a comment, DM, email, whatever it is, because we're all about making an impact. So yeah, reach out to me on social, man, at Josiah Fitness, and then we'll connect there.
It'll all be linked in the show notes below. Even shoot him a message, or me, if you're in the Northern Virginia, DC area and want to find the best Middle Eastern food, we got you.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Oh, dude, if you haven't, have you had Palau or Mantu?
For some reason, Montu sounds familiar, but I can't quite put my finger on it.
All right.
Where are they?
Well, let me just tell you, it's crack. Okay.
I will say, when Max and I moved up to Arlington the first year, we lived together up here in Northern Virginia, and our apartment in Clarendon, courthouse area of Arlington, we lived right across from this place called, I think it was just called Afghan Kebab House. And we slept on it for like months and months and months. And I think one late night Max got it and he was like, oh my God. He ate it literally like every day for like 3 months straight. Dude, I'd walk in and just be like smelling like kebab like crazy.
Well, we got to have you and the wife over for Matu and Palau. Your wife will obviously, she'll know what it is. But okay. Dude, man, I can't even start talking about it. I'm fasting right now. Like, we'll just leave it at that, man.
Awesome, man. Appreciate it. Josiah, it's been a pleasure connecting with you again. Likewise, here, man. The audience I know is going to love this stuff. So that's going to be a wrap for this week's episode of Ever Forward Radio.
Appreciate it, brother.
Thank you all so much for joining me again this week. I truly hope that you have enjoyed this episode and its message. If you have found value in Ever Forward Radio, I would greatly appreciate you subscribing to the podcast, as well as taking just a few seconds and leaving it a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. This is the best way to make sure our message continues to reach others. Thanks again, and I hope that this content helps you live a life ever forward.